Coming up on Network Africa. United Nations says 20 people killed and dozens more abducted in multiple attacks in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Famous boxing belt donated to Nelson Mandela by U.S. champion Sugar Ray Leonard stolen. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shubowale. We begin in South Africa, where police have arrested 3 people in connection with the deaths of 21 people, mostly teenagers, at an East London tavern last month. They died mysteriously after collapsing, and police are still investigating the cause. The victims were found strewn across the floors and tables. The suspects, including the Enyobeni Tavern owner, were detained in connection with allegedly selling alcohol to underage children. Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Debia joins us now on the program for more. Betty, if you can hear me, it seems we don't have Betty yet. We'll move on now to some other stories while we reconnect with Betty. And over in Mozambique, people are once again fleeing Mocimboa de Praia district. And the violence hit northern Cabo Delgado region after jihadists attacked a village on Monday. According to reports, those leaving had returned to the area when it was cleared by insurgents by a joint force of Mozambican and Rwandan troops. The militants reportedly clashed with Mozambique security forces in Chitolo village, but there have been no details about casualties and the extent of destruction after the attack. There are also no details of the actual number of the people who have fled for their safety. It comes as attacks by jihadists continue in several areas of Cabo Delgado. On Sunday, several houses were torched and one person was found dead, and the next day in a village in Milokov district following an attack. The authorities in South Sudan say more than 230 people have been killed over the last 2 weeks in ethnic clashes in the south of the country. The fighting over cattle and grazing fields occurred in eastern Equatorial State from early this month. The killings happened in Capoeira North County, where rival communities clashed following cattle raids in one of the villages. According to officials, those killed included a local chief who was shot as mourners gathered to bury those who died in the violence. The governor of the state has condemned the killings and asked the government to urgently send security forces to the area to help restore calm. The UN has warned that the country risks a return to civil war because of continuing intercommunal fighting that has displaced millions of people. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the United Nations says 20 people have been killed and dozens more abducted in multiple attacks. The dead include children and at least 4 patients who were burnt alive at a church clinic in North Kivu province. The attack is blamed on fighters from the Islamic State-affiliated group Allied Democratic Forces. It's known as the deadliest armed group operating in the country and has been designated as a terrorist outfit by the United States. Witnesses say intense fighting is still ongoing in the volatile North Kivu province, where the Congolese army and UN peacekeepers are engaging fighters from the group. And in West Africa, Ivory Coast has accused Mali of unjustly detaining 49 of its soldiers and has called for them to be released. Mali's military government seized the men at Bamako airport on Sunday, calling them mercenaries. But the Ivorian authorities say none were carrying weapons and that they went to Mali to join UN peacekeeping operations there. Ivory Coast National Security Council says it has held an extraordinary meeting under the chairmanship of President Alassane Ouattara over the detained soldiers. The UN itself says the soldiers are one of several national units deployed to back up troop contingents. The military leaders in Mali say its foreign ministry was not informed via official channels. Here we have our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, joining us now for more on the situation. Betty, thanks so much for joining us. We know one of the tavern owner is one of the arrested people, but what more do we know about the two other people detained?
Well, let's just give some clarity. You know, we're talking about three different incidents. You have one in Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal, the Enyo Beni, that's in the Eastern Cape, and then the one in Soweto here in Gauteng. So the arrests that we have so far are two people, suspects in the Pietermaritzburg case, and then in the Enyo Beni, that's the Eastern Cape incident, the owner was arrested, as well as two of his employees. These are the people who have been arrested so far. And the owner, in particular, is expected to appear at the East London Magistrates Court on Tuesday, whereas the other two employees in their 30s are expected to pay a fine of 2,000 Rand each. That's about 80,000 Naira. And then they're expected, if they fail, they're expected to appear in court, same court as well. So okay. What you're talking about is the Eastern Cape incident where the 21 teenagers died.
Yeah, and speaking of the Enyobeni incident, any new information regarding the investigation and cause of death? We know authorities are conducting a toxicology report.
Nothing new has been said so far. The police commissioner for that province said they need to be careful, they need to be sensitive before they bring out anything. And we were with the police minister a few days back, I think 2 days ago in Soweto, where he said they can't put out everything to the public just like that. First, when the outcomes of the investigations come out, they will face the affected families first, before every other thing is made public. So for now, even the case that we're talking about, it's basically the liquor board taking the owner and those two members of staff to laying charges of them contravening the Liquor Act by serving alcohol to underage people. Drinking age is from 18 upwards, and the 21 teenagers were from 13 to 17.
Okay, and to the other story that has thrown South Africans into mourning, like you mentioned earlier, we're hearing that authorities have arrested two individuals in connection with one of the two shootings that happened over the weekend. Speak to us a bit more about that and the latest developments surrounding that.
Okay, the arrests are in connection with the shooting in Pietermaritzburg, which is KwaZulu-Natal province. 4 people died after two men came in. They came in a car, got in there and just shot randomly at people. 2 died later. That's 4 people. 8 were injured. And CCTV footage, according to the police, helped them trace the car. And some people were brought in for questioning. We don't know if it's a done deal, if they're really involved so far. But those are the 2 people that we've been told have been arrested. And we don't have much details after that again. The police is trying not to compromise the case or the investigation. So we hope to hear more before the week runs out. But just 2 people traced from the car that brought the people who arrested, the people who shot in the, who shot at the people who were in the tavern. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. So that's just what we know so far. We don't have details of who they are. Probably after they appear in court, we'll be able to tell. And then in the case of Soweto, we understand CCTV footage is also helping the police, but we don't have details. And the police commissioner, police minister told us again that not everything known immediately will be made public because they want to, go deep enough into the investigation and have the facts, to tell people.
All right, then, Betty, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you very much.
And to health matters now, the world's first malaria vaccine was hailed as a historic milestone. However, months on, a lack of funding and commercial potential is hampering efforts to deploy the shot to millions of African children who need it.
Kenyan mother Rebecca Idhambo Kwanya needed no convincing to take part in the pilot program for the world's first vaccine. Her older son, 4-year-old Bertrand, had frequent bouts of malaria since birth, unlike her younger son, 18-month-old Bradley, who was vaccinated in the pilot program.
I have 2 sons. My elder son has 4 years and 8 months, but the smaller one is 1 year and a half. Yeah, my elder one was not vaccinated and he was sick on and off. He had malaria today, tomorrow no malaria. The other day malaria, the other day no malaria. But the smaller one, he gets the vaccine and he was not even sick. There should be more vaccine to maybe to our nearest health center, because sometimes when you go to even our Jolomino health center, you find that there's no vaccine, or you will be told, come on Friday, come on Monday, come on Friday, come on Monday.
GSK has donated 10 million doses to pilot programs in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi, and less than half have been shipped so far. The countries plan to expand campaigns this year and the next, using a mix of the remaining donations and purchase shots.
The piloting of the RTSS malaria vaccine in 3 countries, Kenya, Malawi, and Ghana, started in 2019. And by last year, 1.8 million children had received the vaccines. Those are 1.8 million children who are eligible to receive the vaccine, and therefore they should be around the age of 6 months. So we are hoping that when the vaccine, because now it's recommended by WHO for use in protecting young children in sub-Saharan Africa against malaria, that when it's rolled out throughout the areas where malaria is a big problem, then we should have several millions of children who will receive this vaccine starting next year when it becomes widely deployed in these areas where malaria is a big problem.
GSK said the World Health Organization decision to collect additional data on safety and effectiveness from the pilot programs had added years to the launch process, during which it had to idle a dedicated production facility. Some officials and donors are hoping a second shot being tested by Oxford University may prove better, cheaper, and easier to produce in bulk. International Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, is currently the only significant funder for a wider Mosquirix rollout. One problem is a lack of demand for malaria vaccine in wealthier parts of the world. The huge profits pharmaceutical companies can generate there is how they say they can make products available for cheaper in poorer countries. But Mary Hamill, head of malaria vaccine implementation at the World Health Organization, says the COVID pandemic has shown how quickly things can move when there's a political will and funding. But without the finance and commercial viability, millions face being denied the protection of a vaccine against a disease that kills a child every minute.
And return in just a moment, we'll have more on health matters as the World Health Organization says COVID-19 remains a global emergency. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The COVID-19 pandemic, the World Health Organization says COVID remains a global emergency. Nearly 2.5 years after it was first declared. The emergency committee, made up of independent experts, say that rising cases, ongoing viral evolution and pressure on health services in a number of countries means that the situation is still an emergency.
I'm concerned that cases of COVID-19 continue to rise, putting further pressure on stretched health systems and health workers, and also concerned about the increasing trend of deaths. The Emergency Committee on COVID-19 met on Friday last week and concluded that the virus remains a public health emergency of international concern. The committee noted their concern about several interlinked challenges. First, Subvariants of Omicron like BA4 and BA5 continue to drive waves of cases, hospitalization, and death around the world. Second, surveillance has reduced significantly, including testing and sequencing, making it increasingly difficult to assess the impact of variants on transmission, disease characteristics, and the effectiveness of countermeasures. Third, diagnostics, treatments, and vaccines are not being deployed effectively. As transmission and hospitalizations rise, governments must also deploy tried and tested measures like masking, improved ventilation, and test and treat protocols. I urge governments to regularly review and adjust their COVID-19 response plans based on the current epidemiology and also the potential for new variants to appear.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization and the Kenyan government have broken ground on a medical emergency hub, the first in a network of centers designed to better prepare the continent for health crises. The facility being built in Nairobi will include a training center, stockpiles of medical equipment, and will house professionals who can respond to a medical emergency within its first 24 hours.
The Kenyan government and the World Health Organization have launched a medical emergency hub. The first in a network of regional centers they say will speed up the response to regional emergencies. The facility being built in Nairobi will include a training center, stockpiles of medical equipment, and will house professionals who can respond to a medical emergency within its first 24 hours. Speaking during the groundbreaking ceremony at the weekend, the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says there are significant gaps in preparedness across Africa.
A WHO analysis found that less than 10% of countries in the African region have the workforce required to prepare, detect, and respond to public health risks.
Kenya will be a regional hub for medical equipment, helping neighboring countries get medicines faster when they need them. There was no timeline on when the logistics facility will become fully operational, but Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta said it will go hand in hand with the establishment of the Kenyan Biovax Institute.
The setting up of this WHO logistics hub in Kenya goes hand in hand with the establishment of the Kenya Biovax Institute, our government's first human vaccine manufacturing plant. The local production of specialized health products and technologies at Kenya Biovax, including production of a range of human vaccines that would be pre-qualified by WHO, shall create a strong energy in the supply chain partnership between the WHO and Kenya.
The WHO said it wants to establish emergency response teams in every African country. According to the UN body, there are over 100 health emergencies a year on the continent, more than any other region in the world.
We have conflicts and humanitarian crises that can be protracted, that can also cause sudden population movement, people living under precarious, very difficult circumstances. All of this needs very solid preparation so that when things happen that are going to trigger an increase in vulnerability to disease and illness, the systems, the national systems are ready to manage that.
In addition to COVID-19 and monkeypox, events currently being monitored include potential cases of the highly infectious Marburg virus in Ghana, measles in Democratic Republic of Congo, and cholera in Cameroon.
Back here in Nigeria, it's a convergence of top officials of the international community, comprising foreign development partners and diplomatic corps in Anambra State, on the invitation of Governor Chukwuma Soludo in his quest for strategic partnerships. The governor, who pulls the rare team to the state, says the living conditions of residents, especially in Onitsha, can be improved through partnerships with the federal government, private sector, and foreign development partners.
The Soludo government in Anambra State is continuing with efforts to build a prosperous and livable homeland, and it's not working alone. As early as 7:30 a.m., Governor Chukwuma Soludo is at the airport in Umeri to receive some special visitors, including the international development partners, and diplomatic corps, who are invited by the state government to see the development challenges the state is facing and how they can come in with strategic intervention. Governor Saludo takes them through a brief analysis of the state, its strengths, its weaknesses, environmental threats, challenges of unplanned urban cities, menace of flooding, and waste management problems.
Our environment remains our existential threat. Erosion, flooding, pollution, insecurity, obviously, is quite key. But I think we are battling that one with everything we've got.
From the government house, the governor and his team are set to tour critical areas in Onitsha. But first, a courtesy to the Obi of Onitsha. The governor explains the essence of his visit to the Obi.
Anambra is ready for business, and we are serious about it. We are serious to give our people value, and we are looking for partners to help us give our people value.
There's an exchange of souvenirs between the Obi and the foreign development partners before he joins in the appeal for support for Anambra development.
But all in all, we're making steady progress. It's a long way to go. But then basic services, facilities, and the urban renewal program, which was done by the way, you can see some challenges we have. Very, very happy to welcome you. So that you can help us and help Anambra State and help the Southeast. We also said that Anambra State is not fixed, the Southeast is not fixed.
Leaving the traditional palace, the field tour begins with a visit to Sakamori Drainage Channel, where decongestion and dredging exercise has been going on.
So I'm glad that at least it's coming up here now.
Next is a drive through Opoko, and the site becomes clearer to the visitors who, upon arrival at the governor's lodge, the last port of call, expressed their feelings about the tour.
If you go there, you also see the entrepreneurship of people. You see people who have never lost hope and people who are resilient and want a better life. So I think with that kind of ingredients, there should never be a problem in transforming that aspect. But another thing we've seen also is, I always say that if you want to see the impact of climate change, come to Anambra. The erosion in this state. People being displaced because of climate change, and something that I think the international community should come and support.
We really need to see how we can support, but for us the best way would be to really see how to create good conditions for the private sector to invest and for the private sector to create jobs for the youth.
There's an exhibition with made in Anambra products on display for the visitors to also see the ingenuity of the people before the governor sees them off at the airport with high hopes that the visit will be the beginning of strategic partnerships that bring about a huge transformation in Anambra State.
And finally on the program, South African police have launched a manhunt for suspects who stole a boxing belt donated by Nelson Mandela by US champion Sugar Ray Leonard. The world champion belt, worth about $3,000, had been on display at the Mandela House Museum in Soweto. It's alleged that staff who reported for duty at the famous museum on Vilakazi Street, where Mandela lived between 1946 and 1962, noticed that the locks had been tampered with on the 1st of July. On investigation, it was established that the belt had been taken. It's unclear at this stage if anything else was stolen. Mandela, who became South Africa's first democratically elected president in 1994, after spending 27 years in jail for fighting against apartheid, was a boxing fan. And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shibuale.